All right, sorry. Now we're recording. So the prayer was not recorded, so my bad.
It was recorded in heaven. It's okay.
That is correct. All right, let me just pull up the questions and stuff like that we go off it. So my question is what do you guys feel about this week's lesson? I mean, it sort of caught me off guard. I mean, did you guys?
Yeah.
It was different, but it was kind of nice to be away from the case studies and just kind of read something that I don't know. It's just a little bit different. Just reading something that's a little more enjoyable.
Yeah, I'm very grateful that we didn't have to do a case write-up this week. So.
Yeah.
No, I think it's a great way. You know, I guess I like this one because it gives us an action. We had to perform action instead of just reading, and hopefully we will down the road use what we read to put into action. So, so have you guys? I'm going to ask: have you guys been able to do what we were asked? Have you guys had the opportunity, or are you still getting around to it?
I'm not 100%.
Yeah, I have. I've done 2 of the 3.
Mm-hmm.
The third one, though, that I wanted to reach out to doesn't live near me, so
okay.
I find a time that works.
Okay.
I've reached out to the 3. I didn't bring them anything or send them anything. Like I just wrote them an email, talking to them, and I know in there it said like take them cookies or something like that, or it's kind of not my realm of things to do, but it's pretty beneficial, pretty unique to see some of the responses and how grateful they were, or, you know, in some aspects they're kind of having a crappy day and it was out of the blue, and it was like, hey, that made my day, that changed everything, so it's kind of nice.
Well, that's good. I know that in the read up on some other studies in the past that I've read in the studies, people have basic needs that they desire at work or anywhere, and well, especially at work, it's they talk about, you know, money, praise. There's 4 praise, you know, benefits and perks. And the 4th one is basically job satisfaction. I mean, money is the highest on that list, but actually the second one was the, you know, gratitude and just feeling appreciated. It was the number 2 in their job. So, you know, why they like their jobs. So, okay. So what is the...
I think the timing of this topic for me has been kind of important, just because my team at work, we were all given a level increase, like the entire team. And we didn't until this week what that level increase was going to be. And so we were all pretty excited, right? Hey, level increase, we're all going to get raises. And I just had mine just a couple of days ago, and I was a little bit disappointed, to be honest, but I'm trying to keep a grateful mind. It's like, hey, I didn't have to get a raise. I got a raise, and I'm trying to be grateful for it, even though we're probably wanting and/or expecting more than we got based on what we're being told. But it's actually been really healthy for me this week to try to have that grateful mindset, you know, and I've been really trying to focus on that.
So that's good to hear. I mean, so can I ask, what were you expecting much more, or just a little bit more, or was it just how it was presented, or what?
Oh, kind of all of the above. So ultimately, it was a pretty big message in our all hands meeting with hundreds of people. It was about a month ago, right? They said they're create a higher level within our organization, within customer service at eBay. And my team is one of very few that we're going to get the new level. we're basically at a ceiling in the organization, and they raised that ceiling. So from a message standpoint, they get to be high and mighty, and I'm going to paint this in a negative light for just a second, but it's all good. But they're able to send the message to the entire organization that, hey, we're creating this new level. These teams are going to get raises, and so we know what it's going to be. They talk about how it all comes down to comparing similar roles in other organizations, right? But at the end of the day, my team's job title is seller health specialist. So how do you compare that specific title to other organizations? You don't know what other organizational functions necessarily do. So at the end of the day, you compare them. Hopefully, my role is in a number of different things, including account management, product management, integration management, so on and so forth. But because we don't have any of those titles, we don't get that pay. So yeah, I would have liked to see 1% increase. At the end of the day, I got a 6.75, which is awesome, right? I'm super stoked. Got an increase, so I'm trying to be grateful. But anyway, sorry.
No, it's good to hear from the recipient side how they feel and everything too, where we give our gratitude, but we also how do other people receive it is also important too. A lesson I've learned too is when you give a man what is that phrase? Give a man a fish. But, maybe I'm butchering it wrong.
Teach a man to fish, feed him for a lifetime.
No, it's like give a man a fish and give a man a serpent and he was asking for a fish or something like that. It's something in the scriptures, but what the message I'm getting from it is each person's gratitude, how you convey your gratitude needs to be almost specific to each person. By saying thank you doesn't always mean thank you is gratitude to one person, because how I've learned in my position is that you got to understand what each person really wants to show your real gratitude towards them. Because if you really want to make it the most effective, you really look at the individual and say, okay, this person wants a raise. This person only wants just gratitude. Give them a plaque saying you're the employee of the year, and they'll be loyal to the very end. And so it's one of the challenges I found in organization is as a leader, you really have to cater to the individual, because if you start catering to the whole, you will get you will have people who say, that's not what I wanted. I didn't necessarily want a raise. I wanted the promotion, or I wanted both, or I'm not saying, but what I'm trying to get at is that when we're in the ability to lead people, we have to really understand what are the people that we're leading and how they tick. So
I think that's true. Like, one thing I noticed as far as like being grateful, it's good to be specific on things. Really kind of, instead of just saying, oh, I'm grateful because you're a good person. Like, it's nice to say, you did this. This is how it affected me in my life. This is the outcome. And I really appreciate that.
That's very good there. You be specific is very important to people, because they want to know what they did right. Right? Isn't that, anybody wants to be recognized for their actions.
Yeah.
I think it goes back to what you're saying. It really depends on the person too. If you're a verbal person, you very much need the specific. Like, you need to actually hear those words. That's the challenge my wife and I have every day. Like, she's a verbal person and not a service person, and I have a really difficult time sharing those details. That's not the way my mind works.
All right, and we'll just look forward
to hear specific words, but I have a hard time with it sometimes.
You too. Bye.
Well, I know we're getting way off topic, but there's a great book, The Language of Love, and I'm not saying lovey-dovey and everything, but it's in that book. It talks about there's 4 or 5. One is showing your love, gratitude in some way is by gifts, service, words. Are you guys familiar with it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know that book.
Yeah, and so I think you can apply that even in the workforce, that as you show your gratitude, you start understanding how each person is, and some people just want to be heard instead of they want to be heard instead of here's a $50 gift card. It's like, that's not what I wanted. I wanted you just to talk to me and help me to understand the process.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What are barriers to expressing gratitude, and how are they overcome?
I think barriers would be people's ability. I don't know how I want to convey the message. Their ability to be uncomfortable, because I think being grateful can sometimes put you in a situation where you are being vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
So some people have a more difficult time expressing some of those feelings.
I think sometimes people don't recognize that they need to be grateful. They sometimes just say, well, I deserved this. I deserve to get the help. I deserve to be on top, or whatever the situation may be. But really, it's somebody the whole time helping them along, and they just don't ever recognize, oh, I should be grateful for this.
Yeah. I also think a barrier that we can have is thinking that gratitude has to be just when someone has thanked you for something. Because we should also be gracious when someone else is gracious to us. For example, if you're at work and you do something well, and you have multiple people that come up and say, hey, thank you so much for the great job that you did, or thank you, this helped me out so much. Rather than letting it become prideful and saying, yeah, I am awesome, turning around and actually being grateful for them being grateful. Or in other words, grateful that they are being vulnerable and appreciative. And if you can be grateful for that, I think there's an increase of friendship that can happen, where you really are thankful that they're willing to do that, and then you will start to show your gratitude in response in the long term. So I think that's a huge barrier, because sometimes it's pretty easy to say, hey, thanks, you helped me. But it's hard for someone who was just thanked to be thankful for the gratitude of others.
Hey, how are you, sir?
So
that makes sense. I know that sounds confusing.
So you're saying gratitude spawns more gratitude. So for instance, your wife gives you a present, and out of gratitude for, hey, thanks for, taking time out of your work, and she's just showing it in gratitude, and you say, well, thank you for recognizing that. It really means a lot to me. And so is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah. Essentially, kind of like what Keaton was saying, where, we don't want to be like, oh, yeah, I deserve that. So when someone says, hey, thank you for doing this, instead of in our minds and in our hearts saying, yeah, you're welcome, I do deserve that, thanks. I do deserve your gratitude because I did help you. Rather than doing that, which I think is actually a harder barrier, we actually need to really be thankful that they've reached out, rather than assuming that we deserve the gratitude.
So you feel by doing that, where you really have to assess like the person, and hopefully by doing that, you might be able to break down maybe a possible barrier that might have been hard for that person to even show their gratitude.
Yeah. And then it almost encourages good behavior in a sense, where, if they show their gratitude and you're very thankful that they were able to do that, it promotes them to be more grateful in the future with other people, and you yourself are in a position where you're feeling more grateful for all the things that you have and for all the things that you've been able to do.
No, that's just a special yet.
So, well, that's a good point. We sometimes we fail to I mean, at least me, I sometimes fail to recognize when people has done something really good to me that I need to show the gratitude right away, not like 2 days later, 3 days later, because then I feel like if you let it go cold, it's not as powerful. I mean, I guess maybe that's just my own personal experiences and stuff.
Basically just got a bunch of green mountains in the box with it you really wanted. Just to get you started,
So
and then we go from
President
there.
Monson in his talk, he says, we often take for granted the very people who most deserve our gratitude. Let us now wait and let us not wait until it is too late for us to express that gratitude. I guess it's sort of like what Skylar was sort of getting to. And I mean, anybody else have any thoughts towards that?
I think maybe waiting shows that it's probably not as genuine. And you probably had to sit there and think about it and say, oh, yeah, I probably should go say thank you, instead of it being like your first reaction. So I think sometimes the sincerity or a little bit of sincerity is removed from the action of being grateful as we prolong it.
So in our travels, I mean, in our road to being a better person, do you guys feel that you feel gratitude is one of the best way is key to being a successful person in generality?
Yep.
Do you think you can truly be successful if you don't have gratitude? That's the question I'm asking.
They're good too.
It's the attribute of being
I think
grateful.
you can, but I think it's harder.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So we have Keaton that says you can, but it's harder. So what were you thinking?
Yes.
Patrick, you were about to say something. What was that?
Yeah, I think the attribute of gratitude is tied very close to humility, which we need to be humble if we're seeking for Christ-like attributes in the long term. So I think that the gratitude is very much something that we probably need to embody for any situation. If we're trying to be like Christ within our lives or within an organization or whatever it might be, I think that's
I might have some blue star here. Let's take a look here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got some coming on.
I think people can be successful even if they're not grateful, but they're not going to be pleasant people that anyone likes.
Right.
No, I mean, you can meet someone that's very wealthy, very successful, and they're just a jerk. They got there because they've walked all over people to get there, and that's what they've done. So technically, yeah, they're successful, but do people like them? I don't think anyone really like them. People don't really enjoy being with them, and that person's probably not as happy as they could be. But gratitude is what really gets you to a point where you can be a leader and they can respect you. And I think that is true success is when people can respect what you've done and where you are.
So go ahead.
When we think in terms of big picture, we have the blessing of really why we're here in this life, right? And what we're going to have the opportunity to have in the life to come. So in terms of having gratitude, like you say, it's like you might be successful from a worldly standpoint, but you're not going to take any of that with you whatsoever.
Definitely.
So in the sense that we have for the most part, I think we have in the real world, we might have a higher sense of what success is about. I also believe, karma comes around and it does bite you in the behind when it comes to the fact that, hey, you're not showing your gratitude. Eventually it comes around and people are not gonna follow you anymore. I believe that's true. If you don't have, as they say, you're only as good of a leader as those who follow you. Hey, Jackson.
Hey, everyone.
Hey,
I didn't
the
get a link, but I had the thought to look at Hangouts, and here I am. Okay.
Good.
glad. Yeah. The interesting thing where when you talk about karma in terms of gratitude, so I mean it was mentioned that there are some very successful people that they're not grateful, right? We might not see that karma, so to speak, in this life. Those people might continue to be, in terms of the world, always successful. They might never see any sort of karma, so to speak, in this life, but we know that could potentially happen after this life. There are going to be consequences to the decisions we make. Maybe someone is very successful in this world, and maybe they've done inappropriate things that are never uncovered, and they never fall on their plate in this life in consequence, so to speak. But it certainly will in the life to come.
There's a great book out there called 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership by John Maxwell. And he, in his very last, on his 21st law of leadership, it talks about the law of legacy. And the legacy is basically picture yourself at your funeral and and how many people are going to be there and who's going to speak of your eulogy. And that's the phrase, I believe, that's a true success is, when you pass away, how many friends, how many family members come to your funeral, because they truly want to be there because of the gratitude and love you've shown. So, yeah. But going from a spiritual side, the foster a culture of gratitude by Christian M. Ruoden. Research on gratitude and appreciation demonstrates that when employees feel valued, they have high job satisfaction, are willing to work longer hours, engage in productive relationship with coworkers and supervisors, are motivated to do their best and work towards achieving the company's goal. I'm going to just put this out. How do you guys feel? How do you guys feel about is that all true, or is it, I mean, can you work in an environment where there's really no gratification, appreciation really shown? They're not demeaning or anything. They just don't show appreciation.
I think that depends on the person.
Oh.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say it depends on the person, Like you were even saying earlier, Joe. Some people, if they got a plaque that said, "Hey, you're the best employee of the year," they don't need a raise. They don't need anything. They're happy. Mm-hmm. Others, they don't care about that. Some people will say, "Well, if you're really thankful, if you're really happy that I work here, then give me some more responsibilities, or increase my pay a little bit. Like show your appreciation in that way." And not in a greedy way even, but just like if I'm doing well, then give me some more responsibilities. Show your gratitude by allowing me allowing me opportunities. So I think it totally depends on each different person and the personality.
So I think each person it depends on, and also like I think you can work in a situation or scenario where people aren't grateful, but I would venture to say it's probably a little bit more frustrating situation if you're in a group and everybody's just saying, "Well, I've done all of it, I've done everything," and things like that, and nobody's really grateful for anybody or any situation. I'd venture to say that probably be a harder situation, more frustrating, a little bit more annoying, and maybe not as effective, but could you do it? Yeah, I bet you we've all done it in our lives. We all know people in our lives who are ungrateful, and we probably watch them and watch their lives develop and see that a lot of the times they're on the butt end of the stick. But I think you can. It's just slightly miserable sometimes.
I think if you had an organization that didn't ever show gratitude, over time it would fail. I think for the most part, the majority of the people probably need to feel gratitude. And if you as an organization are not ever showing gratitude, I think over time it just couldn't sustain itself. You'd harbor negativity, and your business would probably fail.
What's your thoughts, Jackson?
I was actually just reflecting on a few jobs I have had where I worked for about a year, and I thought my work was really good. It was really hard. I was one job I was framing, just construction framing homes, and then another job I was a floor layer, like doing a lot of tile work and routing showers and stuff. And so production wise, like I would always get at least twice as much done as my coworkers, but my boss never appreciated that or never seemed to. And then I would always hear him compliment the other guys that did half the work that I did. So that was kind of frustrating, but I never let up because I knew what I could do. So
that's really interesting. I mean, I'm going to just say from my, from employing a few people, that's a unique quality trait that you have that is one that hopefully you never lose. Because I know that people will go to the rut of saying, well, if they're not going to show gratitude, then why do I need to work as hard?
Yeah, it's completely the opposite spectrum. It's, are you going to self-motivate yourself, or because they aren't showing gratitude, are you just going to be like everyone else?
So that's, I mean, does everybody else agree that, do we agree that it's a harder environment to work in if you don't feel gratitude, you don't feel appreciated?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, you can work in it. I mean, and I think a lot of us, I'm going to bring the gospel in. We have a better light in our life, and we don't need necessarily the job satisfaction to make or define who we are. But however, it still does not make our life easier if we don't hear or shown gratitude.
Yeah. Well, I mean, regardless of, our knowledge of the gospel, we spend most of our day working, and so we spend a majority of our time there. And if we're not happy, if we don't feel satisfied, if we don't feel like people are happy we're there, it's going to be hard because that's the bulk of your life,
Yeah. I like one of my employees. He really worked hard. Our company is basically a farm company, and to start paying higher wages is sort of unorthodox because of the fact that we are a farm. And he told me once, he goes, I'm going to put it very bluntly because him and I grew up together, so it was almost, he knew how to speak to me. He says, I'm giving you more time at work than I am with my own family. So please understand that I'm investing my life into you. So I hope you would invest a little bit more money into us so that we can make a decent wage. And that was a real eye opener to me, in the sense I was grateful that he was willing to be open with me, but it did help me to understand a little bit more about gratitude, and not necessarily they're seeking a lot of money. It's like, I just want to take care of my family and have a comfortable life. And this is what it takes. He was very honest. This is what I need to feel comfortable. And that was about 5 years ago, and he's never asked for a raise since. I mean, I was very aggressive in getting him to that point, but in the 5 years since, he's never asked for a raise or anything. And he's ever so grateful. He puts the long hours in. He likes what he does, and he does. And so I think when it comes down to it, I was able to supply a need for him. And as a reciprocate, he was able to give me his hard, dedication. So I'm grateful for people who are willing to be open too. So, all right. Our last one is, grateful behaviors can facilitate positive interpersonal and community relationships that may in turn influence other key outcomes. Effectively applied in the workplace, for instance, gratitude may positively impact such factors as job satisfaction, loyalty, and citizenship behavior while reducing employee turnover and increasing organizational profitability and productivity. Yeah, so that's a lot to, did everybody understand that? And
Yeah.
so let me ask, in the situation that we've all, when we get that, so Patrick, I'm going to pick on you a little. You talked about your raise and everything. Do you feel that it's going to help you feel gratified?
Oh, the raise itself, a little bit, yeah. I think it comes down to me evaluating that there are other elements of work within my organization that are maybe not seen all the time. And it's something that I've had to come back and forth on many times. I've worked at eBay for nearly 10 years, and there's a reason. You know, I have more ability in work-life balance there than I probably would in other organizations. I've had the ability to, on a whim, you know, go and make sure I'm supportive to family. You know, when I have someone pass away, you know, I have sabbaticals and I have, gosh, this last summer I had a son, and one of our benefits is 3 months off parental leave. So it's like, sure, I'm probably not getting paid as much as I would in other organizations, and that's something that's always going to be a pressing point for me, right? But I always have to circle back and look at some of the other benefits that my company has, and how much that time, more than anything, allows me to spend with my family. And so maybe I'm not grateful as much as I would like to be for the pay raise, but I always have to circle back and look at other things that I am extremely grateful for.
You know, kind of on that, something that I've been thinking about is, so like I've been working where I work for the last few years, and I've gotten raises and I've gotten treated really well and whatnot. And those are all great things. They help out in the long run as far as financial status and, you know, maybe days off or whatnot. But I remember I got a bonus this year, and in the envelope, the owner of the company just wrote, "Hey, thanks for everything you do. Just remember, all the little services you do don't go unlooked." And that was something that, like, I really appreciated her just taking the time to say, "Hey, like, we do see these things, and they've given me benefits and things, but for her to go out and say that and say, hey, we've seen that you do little things here and there to help the company, and, you know, whether it's asked for or it's not asked for, whatever the case may be," that went pretty far for me, just to realize, like, look, I know I put a lot of effort in. Thanks for at least realizing it. And I don't know. I really appreciate little things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So we're about finishing up and everything, and I appreciate the inputs. And does anybody else have any more comments or questions that they would like to ask or anything?
I'm good.
Well, I appreciate you guys, you know, sharing a little bit about how your guys' activities went this week, and what your thoughts were on gratitude. And maybe I should be, hey, I'm grateful for that you guys were willing to work with me. I guess I'm like the only one in this time zone, so I appreciate you guys working with my schedule and everything. So I hope you guys have a good week. And any other closing remarks?
No. I'm up for next week, right? I'm in charge?
No. Next week, hold on. Next week.
I think I'm in charge next week.
Yeah, Skylar's next week. The following week
It's
is
me.
is Keaton, and then we have Jackson again. And then week 11 we have off, and then you're week 12. So week 13 and we don't have anything for week 13 or 14 either. So there's 3 weeks. So
All right.
okay.
Perfect.
All right. Appreciate
All right,
it.
guys.
We'll
That
talk
sounds
to you guys.
good.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you very much. Take
Bye.
it easy.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.